Guys, at this point, I make no secret of the fact that as a 20-year-old, there's a lot of stuff that I do not know. There's a lot of stuff that I have not seen yet, and there's a lot of stuff I'm yet to understand. But there are some advantages of being young, not just the energy that you get. You get to see the perspective of the modern day, the consequences of the living conditions of the last, well, in my case, 20 years, how people have turned out, how people have grown up. And I make this video to discuss something that I've genuinely seen. I know it's an internet trend and people might think, oh yeah, well, this doesn't happen in the real world, especially if you don't see this. It's true. It's true. It's not everybody, but there is a startling number of people out there, specifically, mainly young men, who find themselves, and I've seen this in the real world, with no ability to interact with females. And that is worrying because, money aside, business, whatever, social interaction is key. Nothing matters if we can't talk to one another. Now, I want to talk about this in this video, what this means, how this seems to have manifested itself in society, and what things are like, really. So, again, this is something that is true. I must state that. It's not something that I've experienced. Maybe I've been lucky. Maybe I've just been brave. I mean, there's a lot of things out there in life, whether it's starting a business or talking to that attractive girl that you want to, where you've got to feel the fear and do it anyway. So it's never been a position that I've found myself in. If I can't talk to a girl, I'm going to talk to her anyway, if I want to, right? And if the circumstances are right. So it's not my sort of issue. But it is something that you see. And it's worrying. So with that being the concept, how does this come about and what is it? Well, in the last couple of days, I'm not sure what order I'm going to release these videos in, I've been speaking about the fact that society seems to pander to our fears. And to an extent, that's right. There's certain things that we need to improve on, no doubt about it. But we live in a market now where if we talk about something like this, you'll find that when you go on the internet, there's a lot of these masculinity influencers that basically reaffirm the beliefs of a lot of these guys. So a lot of these guys have nervousness when it comes to talking to girls, basically. And instead of actually internalizing that, which is what I think you should do, like, okay, so why am I nervous about this? Why can I not push myself to actually do this and that and all that sort of stuff? We live in a market now where there's an excuse. You see a lot of and there's a lot of these now, these podcasts where you've got these maybe 30, 40-year-old guys, they get a load of 18-year-old girls on who don't make the most compelling arguments, and basically these guys just ridicule these girls because they've got no life experience and they don't know what they're doing. And for a lot of these young men out there, this is what they watch. And a great benefit for these men is they feel like it takes the blame off of them. Because they see this and they say, oh, well, that's what the dating market's like today. And other things that people seem to take as a factor which limits your ability to be socially confident and competent. Things like Tinder. I've heard this an awful lot of times. That, Tinder's ruined dating for the average guy. It's like, how have you worked that one out? And then there's the idea of, Tinder, it means that girls can search for the best guys and everybody else gets left behind. I don't know many of my friends who have not had at least one, and I know one's not a great number, but it proves a point. At least one match on Tinder, right? And also, it's a very small market. If you really are a decent guy and you can still approach a girl and talk to her, there's no reason why you couldn't make that work in the real world. There's a lot of excuses now that people like to look at rather than actually focusing on the problem, which might be the way that you go off, right? That's an actual thing. So, step one is to acknowledge certain things in life. Now, like I say, there's no need to really go into details on the subject, but I've never really found myself having issues in that regards, all the way from school times to the age that I am now. I've never understood the concept of not being able to talk to anybody, especially someone of the same age, of the opposite gender. I don't understand how that's such a challenge for so many people. But it is, and whether that's right or wrong is a different subject. That's just an objective fact. But you see, a lot of people fail to acknowledge what they need to do to make themselves a more interesting proposition. Now, I use the word proposition on purpose, because not to do the what do you bring to the table, Whether it's friendships or romantic relationships, everyone has some sort of a meaningful value to somebody else. Maybe it's the friend that you go to talk about certain things, whether it's the business partner that helps you, whether it's... Everyone wants something in somebody else, and it's not wrong. It's how you form meaningful friendships and relationships, right? So it's not necessarily wrong. But what I'm saying is, yeah, a lot of these guys want these lovely looking girls and all this sort of stuff, but they do not think about who they are. Because it's very easy when we translate this into finances, but it's the idea of this fact, right? Market forces. And what do I mean by market forces, right? So I've seen this happen with a lot of the guys, because you try and help people where you can. A lot of the guys that have no abilities with girls, you ask them, okay then, so where do you see yourself on the attractiveness scale? And you know what? It's always these guys that go, I'm a 7, I'm a 9. It's like, right, okay. Now, me right now, I'm not in the best of conditions, right? I could probably do with a haircut that'll be coming in the next couple of days. I've got bad skin at the minute. I'm not sure what's going on with my eye. I'm looking into that at the minute. But the point is, right, on a good day, I might see myself as... I'd consider myself a 5, and that's not me being humble. It's not me being low confidence. It's me saying, I don't mind how I look, but that doesn't matter. What I think I look like basically does not matter. It doesn't matter at all. I'll tell you why. Right? I do not set, just like in market forces and money and stuff like that, I do not set the value for who I am, right? It's how people perceive me. I can walk around thinking that I'm a 10 all day, but if I'm a 2, the fact that no one looks at me, no girls have ever spoken to me, if that was the example, would show that you're not a 10, right? Now again, I might call myself maybe a 5 on some rough days, maybe a 4, maybe even a 3 on some really bad days. But you know what happens, right? It's even on some of the days where I'm feeling and looking the roughest, I'll get some really attractive girls start chatting to me. And generally in terms of how often I go out, the looks that I get from girls, the conversations that they start rather than the ones that I start, you get to grips with, okay, well, I might think I'm a 5, but maybe I'm actually higher than that because this happened and this girl and this happened and all this sort of stuff. So you realise, in my case, right, maybe I was just too low. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone's going to say in the comment section, you're a 1, you're hideous. That's fine, right? I live on market forces, right? So the girls that I find attractive do seem to... I've had some luck, right? to put it simply. But no, imagine a different situation, right? So if it's valued on what other people think, your internalized greatness must be shown, right? And if it's not shown, and if you don't want to show it, you've got to make up for that in your expectations. So let's say I looked at my overall life position, right? And obviously you guys know for how it is for me. I go to the gym. I'm trying to, I hope I'm in at least relatively okay shape. I've got businesses, I've got this channel, I'm relatively confident in life and all that sort of stuff, so that is going to affect it. But let's assume that the opposite of that's true. Let's assume that I'm not confident, I'm broke, I'm unsuccessful, I've got no ambitions. Does that mean that I should settle for nothing? No. Does it mean that I can't be liked? No. But you know what I see countless times? People who take no pride or care in their appearance and their approach in learning, in growing, and they expect to get some girl that looks like a model. Now, I don't know what's done this to people. I assume it must be social media and the sort of content that we consume online. Because you can now find yourself in a position where, certain sites, I'm sure you all know of them, where whether it's having access to actually talk to really attractive girls for money or stuff like that, guys have been fooled, right? If you see a girl who's really, really nice looking, she's got a lot of options, right? So what does that mean? It means that you need to either be a good contender, whether that's... I'm not saying, you've got to be rich, you've got to be 6'7" and have muscles. Right, I'm not that tall, I'm only 6 foot tall, right? I've just turned 20. For the last 20 years I've been a spotty teenager. Look at the state of the skin. Look at it, it's not great. But it's not about that. It's about a number of factors. It's not about money. It's about, are you funny? Are you sociable? Do you have ambition? Do you have drive? And people say, oh, well, why would somebody want you for your ambition and drive? Because that means that they're a gold digger. No, it means that if someone's looking to have kids and a family in the future, they want someone who's got a sensible head on their shoulders to actually facilitate that and buy into this vision. So if you're not a 10, or a 7 or a 9, why do you expect that from someone else? Now, certain factors in looks we can't change, right? Certain things you just cannot alter. But I see guys who have not, straight up, they've not taken the time to get in shape. And I'm not saying that you need to try and have big muscles. Obviously, I don't, so you can tell that. But I'm not saying that you need that. I'm not saying that you need to have whatever. But maybe lose some weight. Maybe get a haircut. Maybe get yourself in some clothing that's interesting. You know, the profile picture that I've got on my YouTube is an outfit that I like a lot. It's where I have my long trench coat and stuff like that. And all the time, whether it's men or women, I get stopped in that outfit saying, that's a nice coat, that's nice shoes, whatever. And the point is this, that is because you've changed the way you look. You can do small things, right? Small things to change the way you look. And of course, improving your social skills always comes as well. If you're not displaying your best self, if you're not taking the effort and the care in yourself, in number one, you, how do you expect somebody who is taking the effort in themselves to care for you? And again, it's not wrong, I don't think. I think it's just an inevitable fact of life. If you're an ambitious person, you might want someone to join you on that journey. If you're smart, then you might want someone to join you in that journey. And of course, sometimes opposites do attract. But you know, it's a very ironic paradox, because on a lot of these podcasts, like I spoke about a minute ago, it's always talk about how the girls cannot basically long-term make a high-value man happy. And we're talking about a guy who's really rich and successful and all these social status things, and that's fine. But guess what? The ironic thing is, when you're broke, when you're not taking time to be attractive or gain skills or increase your money or whatever, the girl who's nice and attractive and well-spoken, she is now the one that's more high value than you. And if you want that, what do you bring to her table? Now, I know people might say, well, you're just being all soft about it. And look, we live in a time where these podcast types do seem to enable these guys to feel more secure in their failure, right? I'm not saying that you are necessarily going to attract girls that look like models, but we all have our own type as to what we find attractive. And I do make this video mainly towards the young men, because I don't meet many females that are like this, and I've got many females in my social circle and stuff like that. So if there was anywhere that you'd see it there. It seems to be, and it's not men that I keep in my friendship group, but you know, you go to school, university, college, and you see these people. They've got no understanding as to how these things work. So step one is, are you an appealing offer to anybody, right? Because it takes two to tango, and I hear enough people complaining about, oh, it's today's market, it's things like Tinder. It's not hard to get swipes on Tinder. It's not where I would go, and the reason for that is because, for me, I value face-to-face interaction, right? My texting style's pretty dead, whereas in real life I can at least put together a decent conversation, and you can see my face and hear my voice and the tones that I use and stuff like that, and we can have a meaningful conversation. Whereas online, that's a bit less easy to portray. So it's not a site that I'd use, but then you get to other things, right? You go to college, university, work, right? You can talk to girls there. It's not impossible. It's not even hard. And you'd be surprised at how easy it is. You go tell a girl that she looks nice today, and you'd be surprised at how easily that could be a conversation starter, right? Because most people, men or women, do not expect to hear a compliment randomly as they go about. Now, of course, it's different things for different people, and for some people it might be about pushing the boat out. For me, there's been times over the years where actually, the girls have come up to me numerous times. It's normally how it works most times. Now, I'm not saying that as a brag, I'm not saying that as a flex. It's something that happens to some, it might not happen to others. That's fine. But you can make that you if you improve your look, the way you act, that sort of stuff. Along with having absolutely no skills to offer somebody, let's talk about another thing which I think is arguably quite damaging. We seem to live in a world where people are not willing to accept reality. Now, like I said, I've given the examples that there's been times over the years, whether it's in clubs, whether it's at university or stuff like that, even in the street it's happened before, where girls have come up to me and started talking to me. But what I'm saying is this, right? Not every girl or person, in fact nobody in life is perfect. Somebody might be a absolutely good looking person and they might have certain personality traits that aren't great, or they might be a bit weird or nerdy or stuff like that. You know, I look how I look, I act how I act, and the thing about me is, like I say, I see myself as probably average, some days much below, but the point is, hopefully quite average. Social skills fine. Some have actually said good, and I don't mean girls, I mean people have actually like pointed it out, especially when I was doing some presentations at university. But the point is this, right? The point is, there's been times over the years where the sort of person that you are shows. I make no secret of that. I make no secret of having a personality, and I'm not scared of highlighting it. Right? I'm not scared of being me to my true self. And what that might mean sometimes is I might have weird interests, right? I've got a huge interest and love for cars. I've got a huge passion for traveling. I don't know. And you might find me in some situations going on about which engines are best and which is whatever. So if I'm not perfect, which I'm not, why would I ever expect perfection from somebody else? Now, obviously there's certain things that are just like red flags straight up. But another one is, a lot of these guys, the ones who can't get girls, seem to have gotten themselves on this sort of image of, yeah, well, the perfect girl's going to be, I don't know, depends if you like tall or short, but it's this tall, this short, I don't know, she's going to have this colour hair, she's going to act like this. That's not people. Like I say, I understand because I've got enough social awareness and also personal awareness to say, okay, sometimes when I'm going on a rant or a discussion about cars or business, it might be a bit weird to your average person who's not interested or involved. So if a girl starts doing the same thing, I'm not gonna be upset or like, oh, she's weird or whatever. Everyone's a bit weird, everyone's a bit different, and everyone's unique. So why do people fail to acknowledge this? Or some people, and I think it's another thing that holds them back. Like I say, I think the hunt for perfection is going to lead to long-term sad results because, number one, perfection doesn't exist, and number two, even if you meet the perfect girl, right, who's to say she's going to like you? Now, of course, you may, and hopefully you will meet someone who likes you for you, and most normal people can. I know people might say, oh, well you're dissing the normal person here. I'm a fairly normal person myself, right? Or at least I hope I am. What I mean by this is, look, if you're your average guy, you keep in relatively decent shape, and I don't even mean go to the gym, you're just not on either side of the extremes of the spectrum. You take a decent amount of care in your appearance, you drive an average car, you're fine. I'm not talking about these sorts of people, right? I'm talking about the people who seem to have no experience with girls. Get your confidence up, right? Get your skills up. Become someone for yourself first, but don't expect perfection from someone else, because what have you done to earn it? Look, we talk about high value. Well, I don't, but people in these markets talk about high value, right? So it's like, well, what determines value? Number one, that's subjective for everybody, but let's just go with a generics, right? Because the idea is, if you want to become more attractive, you make yourself as attractive to as many people as you possibly can. So it'd be things like improving all the things that we discussed. But let's give an example that you can't improve, right? Let's say you're 6'7", right? If you're 6'7", act like a geek, built like a pencil, it's not Riz. It's not cool, right? It's not cool, and it's not going to have the same effect. So, if you were 6'7" with gains, if you were 6'7" and you took care of the way you looked, there's some potential there, right? There's some potential. But the reason why that is something that I pointed out is because it's a big problem that I see an awful lot. Guys take these gifts that they get, and I mean gifts because it's advantages that they didn't work for, and they think that means that they're entitled to, I don't know, some sort of stardom and fame, and they think that they're going to have everyone admiring them. Look, right, not only is it about the way you portray yourself, but also there's a number of other factors, right? You think you've got one thing, and you think that means that it seems to be entitled to the appreciation of others. But it's not about that, right? It's not about that at all. Again, you're above average height, maybe 6'2", 6'5", 6'7", whatever. That's great. Now go build some muscle on top of that, and now you'll probably be top 10% in terms of maybe looks or height or whatever. So that's a plus. But oh, I'm rich from my business, or I'm 6 foot and I'm 6'5" and I'm this. It's not enough. It's not enough because you haven't got anything else to offer. So no, you're not high value. You're broke. You've got no confidence. You've got no skills. You're not funny. You're ill kept, and it's like Is that harsh? Probably it is. And it is. But is it how people will view you? It seems to be, right? Because it's like, oh, well, you're giving a harsh message there. Possibly it is. But if something that you're doing now isn't working, maybe it's time to change that. Now, for me, I'm always growing for myself, right? I never chase girls. You know, I'm 20 years old. Not only have I got options, which is not something that I wish to exhaust, right? I'm looking for one person. I'm not going on one of these YouTube types of, oh, I've got 15 different girls in my set. That's not really cool, is it? The real aim is to find one person to be your soulmate and to... So that's a different point. The point is this. I don't chase anybody. I don't need to, but people come to me. The mission that I'm on is one that I'm on for myself, right? Because I think it's because I have never struggled with girls and never see the need to seek their approval or validation. But what I'm saying is the steps that I'm taking in my mission are ones that seem to just going off of what happens to me, as in there's certain girls that approach me and talk to me, and obviously things happen and all that sort of stuff. I do all that sort of stuff for myself. I'm trying to build my business. I'm trying to get gains in the gym because I want them myself. I want to look good and big for me and feel how it is to be strong. But a consequence of that is it's improving the way things are anyway, which is just giving better results. But that's me, right? So how do most people get themselves out of the position if they can't talk to girls, if they can't get girls, can't get themselves a relationship, whatever? How do they get out of this position? Rule 1, or guideline 1, I'd say, is stop consuming all of this masculinity nonsense. Some of it is of real value. Be strong, get your money up, all that I agree with. But, so the true concepts of masculinity, obviously I agree with. But all of these podcasts where they get a load of girls who aren't the brightest, to be fair, and they basically just make an entire show of bullying them, if that's where you get your validation, stop it. Because these people are few and far between. The bad ones that they get on these shows are few and far between, right? The men aren't great either, so they're all basically quite bad. But my point is, right, live in the real world. Whether it's in shops, whether it's colleagues, I don't know, wherever you go, you meet lovely people, men and women. So this idea that, oh, well, Tinder's ruined things and there's no nice girls anymore is an absolute lie. I meet nice girls every single day. It's not uncommon if you're in the real world. So step 1 is get out of this nonsense and go find out what the real world is like. You'll be surprised at how many lovely girls there are. Again, I've not had any real experience of these internet types that are always in these podcasts. Well, really ever. It's not a real concept, not really. Sometimes you'll face certain people who act a certain way, but that's true with anyone, and it's not helping yourself to always think that you're right because you're being validated by these people on the internet. So once you're out of the mindset of thinking that you're necessarily right depending on anything, so you're always going to be right, once you've realised that's not true, what's the next step? Well, there is a next step. It's to acknowledge what you need to do, right? Look at how other people see you. And how do you find out how other people see you? Well, I'll just give a few examples for me. I've got this YouTube channel. It's growing, so that must be a good thing for me. It must show, hopefully, something's all right with me. I've got my friends. The fact I've got quite a lot of friends, that's a good sign. Like I say, I do know a lot of females, a lot of girls that want to see me and all sorts of stuff, right? So the point is, you're getting a gauge of how attractive, not just in a romantic sense you are, but as a general person in the world you are. You're getting a value of your world value. So go find out who you are in the real world and go find out ways to improve that, right? Do it for yourself, but like I say, I think it's the big problem. You know, a lot of these guys, they watch a couple of these podcasts from men who are either not the best themselves, and they're only on these shows getting people who are in, quite frankly, the most stupid and uncoherent manners, as in people who don't have any experience or don't know what they're doing or just don't comprehend it. They're getting these people to argue with, making them feel that they're right. A lot of guys watch this and they think that's how the real world is. Go out there, go find out. You know, it's one that I did a couple of years ago. It's like, you try to talk to as many girls as you can, anywhere. And it's like, oh, well, what if people think that I'm a creep? What if people think I'm a weirdo? Look, obviously think of the situation, right? It's obvious. But if you don't know how to do something, you need to learn how to do it, right? I've passed my driving test a couple of years ago. Just bought a car recently. How am I learning how to drive? By driving. You think I'm going to play GTA or watch some tutorial and learn how to? No, stop watching this nonsense on the internet. It's not helping. Go out there and build some real world value. One of two things will happen. Number one, people will immediately become, well, not immediately, but over time, will become more attracted to you anyway as you start to actually fix up your problems. And number two is you'll have more confidence in yourself. Step two after that is once people even do start to approach you and talk to you, do you have the confidence for that yourself? There's a lot of reflection that's needed to become a successful person all the way throughout life. And on this subject, we live in a generation of what seems to be ease, what seems to be escapism, right? People don't want to work hard, people don't want to take risks, people want to just be comfortable. And you can be comfortable, but it's not real pain, really, is it? Whether we talk about building a business or as we are here, talking about maybe talking to that girl that you like or stuff like that. It's easy in the context of everything that people have done throughout time. Look, even 2, 3, 4 generations ago, it was World War II and World War One, and you're scared to talk to a girl. It's something that you've got to think about, right? It's something that you've got to think about. So yeah, I do see this in the real world. It's a position that a lot of men find themselves in, but they don't take the time to think as to why. There's probably a decent girl that would be attracted to them, or even is, but they expect the best of the best, whilst not having any time to reflect on how they come across and look. It's a harsh message perhaps, but like I say, I like to focus on real world issues here, and just look at the statistics, right? It seems to be that a lot of, mainly young men, don't have any confidence, well, don't have any riz anymore, as they say, and that's not good. It's not good, because like I say, going full circle in this video, say what you want about it, if it's my opinion that money, success, anything like that means nothing if we can't interact with one another, and it's not going to make you feel great about yourself, is it? So, like I say, it becomes a point where you need to realise what you're doing right now is not working. And why might that be? Is it because you're looking for the escapism? Is it because you're thinking that you're more high up in social terms than you are, and you're not taking the time to actually reflect and fix up your errors? And is it stuff like that? Because for a lot of people, I see it all the time. They could have some luck if they just would take a bit more care in how they looked, or they do have some luck, but they think that the girls that like them are not right, for example, all whilst being a pretty not great offering themselves. So, like I say, responsibility. I think as you grow into adulthood, you've got to accept what you've got to do. And I know there's a lot of content out there explaining that, oh, well, it's actually the fault of all of these girls. Look, it's not. It's not. Yes, you'll meet some bad eggs of everybody all over the world, anywhere. So I'm not necessarily saying it's not true in that front, but what I'm saying is this. It's a great excuse, isn't it? Because it means that people don't reflect on themselves. Look, the markets aren't any different in any way, the dating market, than it was in the past. Yes, there's different tools, things that enable connections like Tinder and stuff like that, and maybe different things are accepted, so I'm not going to say that they're not, but the idea of you can talk to someone and they might like you, it's basic human nature, isn't it? So yeah, it's a worrying spot that I think a lot of guys find themselves in, but it's one that's easily rectified. And I don't know if this video is any good. It's been about 30 minutes long, but I don't know, it's just a big thing that I find very hypocritical. People moaning about the way that other people are and all this sort of stuff, whether that be in this regard or not starting a business or stuff like that, when they don't take the time to do stuff themselves. So, yeah, it does take reflection. It does take personal growth. But like I say, think about it. Would somebody want to spend time with you? And if so, or if not, why? Because I'm a 10, because I'm 6'5", does not carry any weight if other people think that you're ugly and poorly put together, and you need to fix it. You need to fix it, right? To the best of your abilities. Yes, we're all working with our own little issues and problems, but put right as many issues as you can, and you'll probably have a lot better luck. So that's it for this one really. Thank you for watching, and I hope I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye for now. See you soon.